You know, when we analyze the election figures right here in Nigeria, we talk about the top 5 states and sometimes the top 10 states. So these are the top states that I have highlighted here, and these states where you have the highest registration. Lagos takes the lead with 585,629, followed by Kano State. One way that Lagos is ahead of Kano. It will be interesting to see the final figure of some of these states, and these are the suspects, the usual suspect, except for Delta. We cannot find a Bauchi here. Bauchi usually belongs in the top 5, but it's not here. In terms of the new registration, Lagos, Kano, Delta, Kaduna, and Rivers. Rivers coming below Kaduna, interestingly, this time around. What are your thoughts, Jide?
Again, this figure looks very interesting because they are in the bracket of 500,000 and 400,000. But what we garnered is that Lagos, as present, is necking 7 million overall. That's if you had what we had in 2019 to this figure. I read that Lagos should be necking about 7 million registrants. But this doesn't really appeal to me as much as how many of the overall will collect their PVC. Because that's the determinant.
Absolutely.
This is good. It looks good. It shows that...
prospects.
Prospects. And it also shows that, look, these are cosmopolitan environments.
Absolutely.
Cosmopolitan Lagos, Kano, Delta, Kaduna, and of course, Atiku Abubakar should be happy that Delta is one of the states
because he has
his running mate is from Delta, and of course
Tinubu might be happy too.
Tinubu will definitely be happy.
Kwangwase might be happy.
Of course, I wish I see Anambra here, but that's not to say Anambra does not matter. But Rivers. So let's look at the party in power in this. Since we are discussing elections and votes. APC is in Lagos, Kano APC, Delta PDP, Kaduna APC, Rivers PDP. So it's 3 against 2. But this is just for CVR. This is just for continuous voter register. We need to do cross-matching. Add this figure to that of 2019, and then that gives us a global picture, holistic view of who comes first, second, third, and then you can do proper ranking. But that, again, cannot be done now because until that ABC is run and INEC comes forward with final figures for each of the states, it will be premature to celebrate anything.
I mean, but so now we're looking at the prospect. What the figures can give us, and politicians perhaps also will be looking at these numbers and what they can do with it. Samson, are you happy? Because I know you and your team, you went to some of these cities and you went out. One you may not be happy about is going to be the next slide, but give me your understanding about these 5 top states that I've highlighted here and what it means for the next election in 2023.
Well, thanks, Joe. I'm not surprised with the 5 states. It's just that if you look across the states, there are 2 regions that are not represented. One is the North Central, the second is the Southeast. And so that gives you a sense of how voters are also responding. But it doesn't also give you a clear picture, because if you look across, the entire the turnout for the CVR based on these current figures, you discover that some states also recorded over 30 to 40% increase in the turnout for the CVR. So if you look at the entire map, you discover that of the 36 states plus the FCT, there are 11 states that recorded less than 300,000 turnout. Those states are Ekiti, Ondo, Zamfara, Jigawa. The FCT is part of that, as well as Gombe. But if you look at the map, what it simply tells you is that these 5 states, 3 of them are actually swing states when it comes to elections. But the fundamental issue is the turnout, and like Jide talked about the PVC, if you look at the general turnout for elections in these states, it's been abysmally poor. So you look at Lagos, for instance, in the presidential elections and the governorship elections, the turnout for those elections in 2019 was less than 30%. Now that you have a presidential candidate from Lagos, will that change the dynamic? Will that increase turnout? Again, only the future will tell. If you look at Rivers, you look at Delta, you look at Kano, all those 5 states. But I think that when we look across the country, you will now discover that there are some states that recorded some high turnout. Again, the baseline figure that we are using has not been reviewed. And so maybe the trends and the analysis might change after INEC has conducted a cleanup of the current figure.
Even if it will change something, these are the baselines. So if anything will change, they will be drawing from these baselines, and the percentages might have an overall picture and not really weighing down on one state over the other. But the one I told you about earlier that you may not be happy about something is this. You did a lot of work in FCT. You brought a lot of artists to come out for them to campaign. You got 211,000 response. That's good news, isn't it? But not as much, because they rank one of the 5 states, 5 states in the FCT is not a state, but we can categorize it in this sense, with the lowest registrants. What do you make of this, Samson, before I come to Jide?
Well, the FCT has always been, like this. And why is this the case? I'd say that, yes, the youth vote count mobilization contributed in no small measure to the turnout, not just in the states where the concert held, but across the country. The FCT here is very cosmopolitan, but there were also cases, and I tell you, there were registration that was conducted for people who wanted to vote in other parts of the country. Some people traveled, to other parts of the country, either their state of origin, to get registered. In fact, on Sunday, because I was on the field when the registration ended, up till about 11:30 p.m., and I tell you that there were people from other parts of the country who came to register in the FCT, but were registering to vote in other parts of the country. So I'm not sure that figure is captured under FCT. So by the time you put those figures, you discover that this figure might also increase. And so I'm not really bothered about, this figure. The FCT residents could have done better.
Yeah. From our understanding, one of the things that I know will bedevil a place like FCT. FCT, like any other state, you can say is a civil service state. In that sense, you refer to states like Ekiti, Osun, Kwara. Sometimes they have been tagged as predominantly civil servant states. FCT is one of those. And if you look at the figure from 2019, and even now, you see a very low number in occupational distribution of registration and PVC collection. You see that civil servants have the lowest in terms of occupation of those who come out to collect their PVC or even vote. What are your thoughts on the lowest state with the lowest registrants?
Thanks. I was itching to say something. I'm not surprised about FCT for simple reason that FCT has 2 types of population. There is a day population and there is a night population in FCT. If you go by day population, you will think FCT is heavily populated because people come from neighboring states to work from Niger State, so from Kogi State, from Nasarawa State. So when you go by day population, the chaotic traffic you see, particularly at the entry points, these 3 entry points, just gives you a false sense.
An illusion.
That FCT is heavily populated. But we know that during celebrations, we know that during weekends, that FCT, because of high cost of accommodation, is thinly, underpopulated.
And during the holidays, you see the way and manner people travel, go to the car parks, even the weekends.
And it happens during elections.
Yeah.
It happens most during elections.
Travel a lot to go
people will travel, choose the election period to even travel because, like we said, almost half of the population working in our FCT are non-resident. They come from outside. But let me quickly speak to my not being surprised about Imo. Imo recorded a lot of violence.
Absolutely.
During the
destruction of even the materials.
Yeah,
the
one guy was killed,
yeah.
and a couple of polling units were destroyed by unknown gunmen in Imo, and that possibly scared a lot of people from getting involved in registering to vote, because that's one state with which I will classify as a flashpoint among all the states. Imo in the southeast seems to be the epicenter of unknown gunmen, and that could have affected the...
Yeah, let me move swiftly because I have some more information that we need to share. So if you look at it in 2019, this is very important. Samson Jide, look at this very carefully. And this is where I want Nigerians of 18 and 35 years old to listen carefully, because tonight I will do an advocacy I'm not being paid to do, but as a citizen, I will do it. Whoever wants to listen should listen tonight because it's very important. The power is in your hand. Look at this figure, Jide. 51% of the registered voters are between the age of 18 and 45. And if you look at it, between 35 and 49 are between the 29.97%. So if you put this together, you can simply say those who have the landlords of Nigeria voting population are between the age of 18 and 49. So they are very significant. These are just pottery. The people from 50 to 70 years, they just about 18% or less than 20%. So flip that, Samson and Jide, look at this. To 2022, what we have, still maintaining, in fact, it's even higher. Look at it. 18 to 43 years, we have 71%. It shows that there was something that happened in terms of voter education that has made this group of people, in fact, this has also increased if you look at it. Yeah. So they have made a chunk of the voting population. Do you see them coming out on the day of election?
Very well. Look, 2023 elections will be decided by Nigerian youth. There is no two way about it. Two factors which I will quickly mention. First is the signing into law of Electoral 2022 on that February 25th, 2022, Friday, February. That significant piece of legislation. As if you look at the number of registrants from June 28th, when ANEC started, June 28, 2021, when ANEC commenced the voter registration, continuous voter registration, down to December. If you look at the total number of registrants within that period, and the registrants between February and July 31st, you see almost double. And it's not just a last-minute rush thing. It is just because people now believe that their votes will count. Given the one, infusion of technology. Two, the issue of funding for election. Three, the capacity of the commission to also right certain wrongs that their returning officer, collation officer may commit on the field. But more importantly, and this brings us to the second part, is the belief that they have a candidate that is worthy of occupying the Aso Rock. And that is during the primaries. The outcome of the primaries, one way or the other, has convinced many youths that, look, we have somebody that we want to bring.
And maybe Ekiti and Osun election also showed them that their votes are possible.
That becomes an auxiliary factor too.
This is also very important. But Samson, we just have about 60 seconds to close this program. I would like your thoughts. But if you look at 2019, look at gender distribution. The usual thing that women are the most of the voters. No, that is not correct. In 2019, 52% of male registrants. In 2022, this is what we have. There are more male registrants than female. Samson, 30 seconds, and we need to wrap up.
Well, Seun, the truth is Nigerians believe their votes will count in 2023, and so we expect that there will be high turnout, particularly of young people, as you can see from the voter registration. The EndSARS protest, really inspired a lot of young people. We saw petitions, written to INEC. Over 35,000 people signed a petition for INEC to commence voter registration. So Nigerian youths have registered, and they are going to make this election, really about them. But the truth is, to make these numbers count, they need to collect their PVCs. INEC needs to produce those PVCs for the registered voters, and those PVCs need to get to the voters in due time, because without their PVCs, they cannot cast their vote. And so as we look at these figures, let's also impress it on INEC to make those PVCs available so people can collect their PVCs and cast their vote, because the next election will be determined by young people, it will be determined by technology, and more importantly, it will be determined by Nigerians who are frustrated, disenchanted with leadership failure in Nigeria today.
Thank you, Samson. Jude, I was going to point out, and this is my point right here. So these people and these people, these two group of people, Jude and Samson, and this is my closing moment. I must sincerely thank you, Jude, for coming on, and Samson for coming on. If you're watching me tonight, know that you are real owners of Nigeria. Don't let anybody deceive you, because if your vote count, if you see this population and the possibility, the potential that you have, you know that the power is in your hands and you need to take it. Leave those phones on election day. Go to the polling unit and exercise the power that you have as the real owners of Nigeria. I must sincerely thank everyone for watching tonight. Thank you so much, Judy and Samson. That's our show for today. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.